This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. We're going to start off today's show with talking about Adam Thielen. To me, an intriguing option at wide receiver 3 for this football team. According to reports from Adam Schefter, the Vikings' longtime wide receiver is expected to be released, and the Eagles, as we know, could use an upgrade within their receiving core alongside Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And coming up a little bit later on our live show, we're going to continue to talk about all of the latest Eagles free agency buzz on guys like Eric Kendricks, but on today's show, we're talking Mecole Hardman as an option for the Eagles at wide receiver, as well as Marcus Mariota, so stay tuned for all of that. Before we do begin, be smart and subscribe to us here on the show. NFL free agency does start on Monday, and when all of these deals start to come out, you can expect us to either go live or do a show that goes more in-depth. You'll be informed better than any other YouTube channel out there, and this is really our specialty. We're going to be bringing the heat, and I hope you hang out with us all throughout next week and beyond, because we give you shows every single day here on the channel. It's Philadelphia Eagles Now. Lock us in and subscribe. So back to Adam Thielen. This coming from Adam Schefter, that there's a real possibility that the Vikings and Thielen will part ways in the coming days, allowing the two-time Pro Bowl wide receiver to become a free agent per sources. The two sides will talk in coming days, but his time in Minnesota could be coming to an end. Oftentimes when there's this type of report, a guy's not going to get traded because there's absolutely no leverage, because acquiring teams who are interested know that there's no trade leverage. So I think the writing is on the wall that Adam Thielen is going to be out from the Minnesota Vikings. And with his contract, 2023 cap hit if he were to return to Minnesota of $19.97 million. That's really lofty for a player who hasn't put forward a lot of production over the last couple of years. Pre-6-1 savings for the Vikings at $6.5 million. After that, he's probably going to be a designated post-June 1 cut, $14.5 million in savings for Minnesota. And you look at Thielen's production over the last 4 years. There was a stretch that we're about to get to for 2 seasons in which Thielen was absolutely elite. But it's been a little while since he's been considered one of the elite wide receivers in this league. In 2022, playing alongside Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne, he wasn't the option that he was a couple of years ago for this Vikings offense. Still pretty solid production though, 70 catches, 716 yards, average yards per catch more than 10 with 6 touchdowns. And in 2021, another solid campaign with 10 touchdowns. In 2020, he reeled in 14 tutties, and in 2019, an injury-plagued season for him, only 418 yards, limited because of those injuries, 6 touchdowns. So pretty good in the red zone, still has an explosive element to his game. As a wide receiver 3, shoot, if you get 500 to 18 or to 800 yards of production, that's pretty good for Thielen. But it's been a little while since he's been a high-caliber wide receiver in this league. Those 2 Pro Bowls that we mentioned a little bit earlier, they came in 2017 and 2018 when he also was a second-team All-Pro. And in back-to-back seasons, he went wild for Minnesota. 142 targets in 2017 with 91 catches, nearly 1,300 yards, average yards per catch of 14 with 4 touchdowns. It's hard to duplicate that production, but he did it pretty drastically the following year. The targets went up by 11. The receptions went up a lot as well, up to 113 for nearly 1,400 yards, and he also had 9 touchdowns. Now, obviously, when we're talking about wide receiver 3 for this football team, the question becomes, well, what about Quez Watkins? I'll tell you this about Quez. He does have something that this Eagles organization does value in a wide receiver 3. It's speed, especially to complement Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, as they're more well-rounded wide receivers, whereas Quez, more of a vertical threat. But the issue with Watkins is that since he's been drafted, he's been far too inconsistent. As a rookie, only 7 grabs for $106 with 1 tutty, but he was a late-round draft pick. You weren't expecting much from him at the time. But in 2021, he showed you glimpses of the type of player that he could become and what the Eagles had envisioned when they drafted him. 43 catches for 647 yards. But then, with the acquisition of A.J. Brown, you'd be thinking that maybe Watkins would be able to get a lot more open looks, but the production really did flatline. It went down. He did admit after the Super Bowl that he was dealing with an injured shoulder, but drop passes, lack of concentration, inconsistency really did plague his third year in the NFL, and he even admitted that he took a step back and he needs to be better heading into a critical year for the last year of his rookie contract. For Thielen, he's a different player than Quez Watkins. Quez can get up and down the field in a blink. He can take the top off of the defense, and sometimes if you line him up out wide, that safety does have to cover in addition to the cornerback being on that side of the field because he does pose that threat. Thielen isn't really going to bring that element to this Eagles offense. He's more of a possession receiver, but could he be a good little security blanket for Jalen Hurts on top of having a guy like Dallas Goedert? That's kind of the thought process here. Here's also what I want to tell you. You can bring in a guy like Thielen, a guy like OBJ, Jarvis Landry, a couple of big names out there. I personally like Mecole Hardman, but you can still have Quez Watkins on this roster because his contract heading into year 4, very, very affordable and barely prohibits the Eagles spending. The Eagles wide receiver room with the top 2 dogs in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, you can make the argument it might be the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. A.J. Brown does it all. He can get up and down the field. He can pick up yards after the catch. He's really physical with the ball in his hands. He can make guys miss. He has that pull-away speed. Had nearly 1,500 yards in the regular season, a record for him and a record for this Eagles franchise. And for Devontae Smith, he, like A.J. Brown, a very complete wide receiver, but a better and cleaner route runner with really good hands. He plays a lot bigger than his size. And in year 2, nearly 1,200 yards. But wide receiver 3, if you bring in another legitimate weapon, it just makes the job for Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown a lot easier, and it makes this Eagles offense even more lethal, especially if you think about the possibility of Jalen Hurts taking that next step as a thrower. So what say you? Should the Eagles show interest in Adam Thielen if he is released and cut by the Minnesota Vikings? Want you to sound off and let me know with what you think, and be honest with me down in the comment section. C for give him a contract, W for he's washed. Sound off and let us know. Now, today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 every day, and it really sets the foundation for the rest of my day. And if you're looking for a comprehensive solution as part of your supplement routine, and you just want added convenient daily nutrition, well, Athletic Greens is where it's at. Check them out at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. With our link, you get 5 free travel packs, a year's supply of vitamin D, and $20 off your purchase. I gave AG1 a try because given my work schedule at Chat Sports, combined with my training regimen, as I'm on a mission to run every day for a year straight, I wanted sustained energy, and I wanted to stay healthy by keeping my immune system strong so that I can strive toward my professional work life and personal fitness goals. I take AG1 every morning, and it's really boosted my energy. It supports my immune system and helps me recover since I'm putting such a toll on my body. I've also really prioritized my health since my mom passed away from cancer a couple of years ago, so I really try to steer clear of chemicals and harsh ingredients. That's also why I love AG1, and it's 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. I mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water, and I drink it first thing each morning, sometimes before and after my workouts. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, Athletic Greens has given the Bird Gang a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs as well with your first purchase. So head to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out, available in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's move forward with today's show, and let's talk about Mecole Hardman here, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to draw some interest and buzz in free agency for a lot of teams who are looking for a similar player to Quez Watkins, if we're being honest. But Hardman, a little bit more of a complete wide receiver with a little bit more production as compared to Quez, in my opinion. And I think that he can give you that gadget guy in this Eagles offense. An intriguing free agent for the Eagles if they want to upgrade wide receiver 3 is really, that's the theme of today's show. We're about to get the Marcus Mariota, and for those of you watching live, we'll continue to break down some more free agency targets here. But for Hardman, I think that early on, some people may have been disappointed with his production and his inconsistency, especially playing in that Chiefs offense with Andy Reid calling the plays and Patrick Mahomes slinging the rock. But that's 3 years from 2019 through 2021, a pretty consistent and steady production. And you can see it's not like he's catching the ball all that much. So yards per catch is really, really high. Explosive plays, as Jonathan Gannon would love, also really, really high. In 2022, he was hit with a lot of injuries, and that's why the production did go down. He had to get groin surgery back a couple of weeks ago, did not play in the Super Bowl, tried to give it a go in the AFC Championship game, unfortunately re-injured that area of his body. But this is a player who I'd really like for the Eagles to bring in. He's a gadget guy and a vertical player who has a little bit more, I think, to his route tree than Quez, and is a little bit bigger than Quez as well. There was a game earlier this year against the San Francisco 49ers. He had like 3 touchdowns, and he got it in a variety of ways. So not only can he bring something to your offense from a route running perspective, but also this is a guy who you can give jet sweeps to. You can do quick screen passes, set up blocks downfield. You can give him an end around. He's really dynamic in the open field. Is he going to be a guy who's going to run routes like Devontae Smith? By no means. But I think he's a better wide receiver than Quez Watkins. I'm interested to see how much money he gets paid on the free agency market. Among the 2 guys who we've talked about today, who would you want to be your wide receiver 3? Is it Adam Thielen or is it Mecole Hardman? I want you to let me know and embrace debate down in the comment section. Let's round out today's show with this. Marcus Mariota to the Philadelphia Eagles. Bleacher Report listing the former Oregon Heisman winner as a dream free agency target for the Eagles. This is pretty funny for a couple of reasons, because when Chip Kelly was here, everybody wanted the Eagles to tank for him, and the Eagles didn't end up getting Marcus Mariota. Probably worked out well, although if he teamed up with Chip Kelly at the NFL level, maybe he would have had a better career. Why it makes sense for the Eagles to bring him in as a backup. Mariota's got to be cheap. And he's probably going to be cheaper than a guy like Gardner Minshew. He's a good scheme fit, unlike the aforementioned Gardner Minshew. You saw the big drop-off when Hurts got injured against the Bears and Gardner Minshew had to start against the Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. He's strictly and flat out just not a fit for this Eagles offense. Gardner Minshew is not a guy who you want running read option and RPO. Marcus Mariota is, though. So the point here being, you wouldn't really have to tinker and change the offense all that much going from Hurts to Mariota, so you can have that semblance of continuity and consistency and not have to change the offense, even like the Eagles had to do going from Carson Wentz to Nick Foles during the 2017 Super Bowl run. You have confidence in Mariota to run the RPO because he's done it before, and for Hurts, he's missed 4 combined starts over the last 2 years, and with his playing style, you may have some concerns if he gets injured again that you have to have that quarterback position locked up, and we know that this Eagles organization going all the way back to really the late 90s, early 2000s, they had Doug Peterson as a backup. They had Coy Detmer, A.J. Thielen, Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, Nick Foles. They are willing to invest in that position. They could do it once more during this free agency period. But the big thing is, that's point number 1. Eagles a little tight on cap space. You can get Marcus Mariota. So what he did last year, 13 games played. He was released by the Falcons after they benched him for Desmond Ridder, the rookie out of Cincinnati. And he struggled once again. He had a couple of good games, but nothing crazy by any means. He's a backup in this league, or a guy who will give you some RPO, and he'll fill in for maybe a game or two. If you're running that offense that he's comfortable with, then he can find some levels of success. But as a thrower, 61% is not going to get it done. 2,200 yards last year, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks, 438 rushing yards with 4 rushing touchdowns as well. Before we hop on out of here, if you're excited for NFL free agency, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I'm pumped up. I am fascinated to see what Howie Roseman's going to do with this football team, because in 2023, they're going to look a lot different and probably not as deep or talented as they were last year. So smash that thumbs up icon. And if you want to hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram, it's the same handle on both platforms, at Chase_Senior. We can talk Eagles. We could talk about whatever. Just be sure to give me a follow and hit me up. I'll also be keeping you in the know right here on the channel, but also on social media throughout free agency.